Hello, and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for Virgo. I'm Jamie Kale Miller.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and hey there, Virgo. I'm going to have a look at career for you. Now, we're having a very special, lucky full moon on May 23rd. That is right in your career house. It's actually straddling your career house and your home life. Now, Venus is going to be joining the sun in Gemini during this full moon in Sag. So, what I really like about it is, first of all, we have Venus in the 10th house during this full moon. She's adding a little bit of luck. She's adding a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of joy to your work life, getting along well with the people you work with, maybe being able to get along and kiss up to a boss a little bit more. And then this full moon in Sag with Jupiter also sextiling Neptune at the same time, but adds a lot of idealism. I really feel like this full moon is going to really help you find that wonderful equilibrium between work and home life. Just feeling like they're moving along really well integrated, because those are really huge parts of who we are. So Sun and Venus is going to be in your 10th house. Later on in the month, the Sun moves in here on May 20th and Venus goes in here on the 23rd. So by the end of the month, I think you're really going to be shifting your focus on work and again, finding that nice equilibrium. And I know Jamie has some things to tell you about relationships too.
Yeah, so Venus is traveling your ninth house until May 23rd. And while Venus is in the ninth house, she likes to kick up her heels a little bit. She becomes the party girl. She wants to have more fun, more pleasure, and feel a little bit more free in relationships. So if you're doing any traveling while Venus is in your ninth house, between the beginning of the month and May 23rd, you could experience a little charge with somebody that you meet while traveling. So that can be fun. Juno is now direct. We've been talking about Juno retrograde in horoscopes since January, and finally now Juno is direct, which is terrific, slowly finishing her shadow period. And so whatever may have gone wrong with your relationships in the last few months, it's now all smoothing out, it's untangling, and it's really over for the year. So definitely some relief to be derived from that. Saturn is on a long-term phase of making you work in your relationships in general. But that project of working on your relationships, working in your relationships, and sort of remodeling your relationships to make them better. And by that, I mean partnerships in your personal life or business partnerships or even a bestie. These are the kinds of relationships that Saturn is making you work on. And Saturn gets a lot of support in that project from the Taurus new moon that's happening on May 7th. So this new moon is landing again in your ninth house, the house of adventure, expansion, growth, and freedom. So it's a nice expanded feeling during this new moon, kind of like the possibilities are endless. And that moon forms a lovely trine to Ceres in your fifth house, as well as sextiling Saturn in your seventh. So let me just veer into the finance department a little bit to kind of explain the backstory behind this. Ceres is about to go retrograde mid-month here in May. We'll be retrograde until late August. And this is going to put all of us on a financial retrospection journey, during which we're going to have to really probably tighten our belts and look more realistically, take a bit of a harder look at our finances. And in your case, Ceres being retrograde in your fifth house is going to have you take a hard look at your luxury spending, the ways that you may spend for entertainment, to have the feeling of richness, of the lush life, the money that you kind of throw away on stuff that doesn't really give you anything more than a momentary pleasure, such as gambling, for example. And so Ceres going retrograde in this house is going to have you really reevaluate, how do you manage that kind of money? And how do you manage your impulses in that department? So bringing this back to the topic of relationships, this Taurus new moon working together with Ceres in your seventh, Saturn in your seventh, which is having you work on relationships, dovetailing with Ceres in the fifth, leads me to a particular conclusion, which is this: when you are restrained in your spending and your fun under this new moon, May 7th, the right partner will understand, while the wrong partner will act like a petulant child. So there's a thought. A little bit more I want to say about finance, which is that Mars is traveling through your 8th house all month. Mars in the 8th house is unstoppable, and you can have anything you're willing to pursue with the full relentlessness that he's offering you. But you do also want to ask yourself, are you playing a win-win game, or are you playing a win-lose game? If you want to win at all cost, then you might miss some really important red flags. It's a question of character and whether the ends are worth the means. Do you hope to conquer? And if you do, are you willing to pay the price for winning at the cost of the other party? Because if you'd rather win only if the other person wins too, then you end up with a partner you can really trust. More thoughts? Find our site at pandoraastrology.com to get a reading with one of us, and find us on Patreon for workshops and classes. And we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.